What's up? We're on here. Today on 3D NerdStop, we're going to change out the filament, and then we're going to print out the Saxxy Award from TF2. Alright, so we're sitting here at the printer, and we have the printer preheated. Now here's our filament. As we can see, I'll see if I can get this to focus in here. This is 1.7 millimeter PLA, 3D filament, gold, 1 kilogram net weight, print temperature 190 to 220 C. Okay. Now one of the questions I've always had about these rolls, considering I'm new to 3D printing, is it 1 kilogram including the spool or without the spool? So let's find out real quick. So I have a little handy dandy scale here. We'll turn that on, and we'll just hook that in here on the side, and we'll just pick it up and we'll let it weigh. And here we go, and there's our result locked in. So it's 1.2 kilograms, so that is 1,000 grams. So the spool itself probably weighs 2.25 kilograms, or 2.25 grams. So that tells us that there should be roughly 1,000 kilograms, or 1,000 grams, sorry, 1,000 grams on this spool. So to change out the spool, what we're going to do is, first thing you always want to do is you always want to heat your hot end up and get it up to temperature. So I have it heated up to 210 C. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and extrude a little bit of filament out of the nozzle. So we're going to go ahead and tell it to extrude about 10 millimeters worth of filament. That way we know there's nothing clogging the nozzle. We can see that it's printing, that everything's coming out fine. Okay, we'll pick up all of our scrap here. That off the build plate. Alright. So now what we'll do is reach around behind and grab our thumb lever here and then just pull the filament out. Like we just did. And as you see, it came right out without a problem. Alright, we'll just wind our filament up on the spool until it comes out the top. Then we'll take our top off our spool holder. And then we'll just take the old spool off. Okay, so we have our new spool. Now on our new spool, if you kind of look at it, it's a little different than the other spool. It actually has lips here on both sides where the other spool doesn't. As you can see how it doesn't really have a lip. See how it doesn't really have a lip there. It's kind of just wide open and didn't work well with this spool holder I have up here. But I have a feeling this spool is going to work great without our topper on it. So as you can see, I found the end of it here. So we'll take that, and we're gonna, it's bent at the end of it, so we'll just take a pair of scissors and cut it at an angle and just cut a little bit of it off. There we go. Now that we've got the filament all nice and easy, we're going to take it and feed the beginning of it down through the top here, and then put the spool up here on our spool holder. And oh yeah, that's much sturdier because those channels on the new spool holder we printed have somewhere to sit now. So that looks like that's going to keep that in place real well. Okay, so we have our filament fed down into the printer. So now we're just going to find our filament and pull it down. Find our hole here, open up our jaws, feed the filament down in there. Alright, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to run through about 100 millimeters of filament here to get all of the blue cleaned out of the head. So I'm just going to tell it to extrude about 100 millimeters. As you can see, it's doing it. Here. go. Just let it extrude out. You can see it's gone from having a little bit of like a blue tint to it in places to being nice and gold now. So we'll just let that finish to 100. There we go. Alright, so we have changed out our filament. Alright folks, here we are. We are here in matter control, but first thing we need to do is switch over to Thingiverse so we can download our Saxxy Award from Team Fortress 2 Saxxy Award. As you can see by the look of it in this guy's hand here, it's a pretty big award. It's actually in 3 pieces. So we're going to print the front and the back in gold, and then we'll print the stand in black. So we would download the model. Once we download it, switch back over to matter control, and then we're going to select add, and we will go to our Saxxy Award, and we would select like the back and click open. As we can see, we have the back here. Now one of the things I want to do is I want to print the front and the back at the same time. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to add the front to it and click open. As you can see, now we have the front and the back on the build plate at the same time. I'm going to tell them to arrange so they'll center on the build plate. Okay, and then we will save that. It'll take it just a second to save it. There it goes. Okay, so now we can go to our settings. Now I think on this one I am going to print this at low with like a 15% infill. I think that should be sufficient. I don't think we're going to need much more than that for the infill. And because, as you can see, this model doesn't have a whole lot of detail to it. I mean, it does have some, but it's not overly detailed. I'm going to try this on low quality. We'll see how it comes out. Okay, so we'll go to our layers, and we'll tell. Alright, there we go. Our layers are generated. And as you can see, we can scroll up through them. We can scroll up through the layers and see how they're going to be built. All the way through. Let's see, it says it's going to take 9 hours and 19 minutes. A little over 52,000 millimeters of filament. The filament volume is going to be just a little. It's going to be over 125 cubic millimeters, and it's going to weigh approximately 155.71 grams. That's not too bad. That's at 15% infill. You know what? Let's try it at a 10% infill and see what it says. So I'll switch that over to 10%. We'll make sure that there's no rafts turned on, there's no sport material turned on. We'll check our temperature and everything. Everything looks good there. So let's generate that. It'll take it just a second to generate all of it. Okay, so now we have the 10% infill loaded. And as you can see now, it's going to take 8 hours and 45 minutes, a little over 47,000 millimeters of filament. The volume is 113.17 cubic millimeters. And the weight is 141 grams. So I think that's what we'll print this at. Should be more than enough. If you want to here, we can take a real quick look up through the layers so you can see what it's going to look like as it prints. That looks like that should be more than enough for the detail we're going for, especially at low res. So going over the low res settings, it does a 0.3 millimeter layers. We are doing a 10% infill. We're going to do the infill speed. We're doing all the speeds at 60 millimeters a second. We're not doing any rafts. We are doing our standard skirt. We're not doing any support material. As far as our filament goes, we are going to print at 210 degrees. We're going to have our bed temp at 50 degrees. So there's the basic settings that we go over. We are doing this in PLA, and like I said, we're going to do this in gold PLA, and we're going to see how it works. We're going to get the printer in the bed preheated here and get it printing. Alright guys, now we got to print out the Saxxy base. So let's go ahead and add that. There we go. We can come over here to our settings. We are going to do this on low res with a 10% infill. We don't need to generate any support material. So we're going to do it at 0.3 millimeter layer height. We're going to do a speed of 60. We're going to do our standard skirt. Support material. We shouldn't need to do anything else to it. We can go ahead and generate the layers real quick. Okay. As we can see here, we got our layers generated. It's going to take 2 hours and 21 minutes approximately. It's going to take almost 17,000 millimeters of material, which is filament volume of almost 41 cubic millimeters. The estimated weight is 50.69 grams. If we want to, we can switch over to 3D view here real quick. And we can scroll up through the layers so we can see it being built. There we go. That's all there is to it. It's a nice simple little base for the Saxxy Award. So we'll get the printer heated up and get it printing. Alright guys, here we go. Now you can see we have all three pieces for our Saxxy Award. And we can check out the quality of it here. You can see it came out pretty good. This would be his back and the front of him. Came out with nice quality. And then here's the base. So all this stuff looks pretty good. So what we're going to do is we're going to glue the front and back together real quick. So I've got some super glue here. Put a couple of drops of it on here. Does not need a lot of this particular super glue. The Gorilla super glue is really strong stuff. And it sets pretty quickly too. Alright. Woo! Here we go. Get him lined up here the best I can. There we go. That feels pretty good. And we'll just give that a good 10-15 seconds to glue it all together. Now the nice part about this glue is it does set up fairly quickly, as you can see. And now he's all glued together. We got him all glued together now. Got him lined up pretty good. Off a little bit on one side here, just a tiny little bit right here, but I think once she paints him, she'll never know the difference. I actually made this one for my daughter, so she's actually going to go through and paint and finish him. So there we go. And then I'm not going to glue it to the stand because that's something she's going to do later. So when he's sitting on the stand, there you go. You have the Saxxy Award. That's what it'll look like. Oops, see if we can get the whole thing in here. He's a big guy. Thank y'all for watching. If you like what you saw, please like and subscribe. Please leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, have a great day. Thank y'all for watching. If you like what you saw, please like and subscribe. Please leave a comment down below. I'd love to. Okay, come on.